It's been a while since I've been able to put out readings, but I wanted to be able to read Audre Lorde's work, some of her essays. And this collection of essays comes from a work called Your Silence Will Not Protect You. When I do these readings, I get a free PDF, and this one is available in the library. So if you have Twitter, there's a drive I've created with a lot of free PDFs and still more that I'm adding. So take advantage of that. And honestly, it's not taking advantage, in my opinion. All knowledge should be free. There should be no paywall in order for us to be able to educate ourselves, to hear the thoughts of those who came before us on what they thought of the world, on what they thought of themselves. All that should be free. So the drive is for anyone to access. It's on my Twitter page as a pinned tweet. Feel free to download, to create your own library using these texts, to create QR codes in which you put them on posters so other people can have them in this stage of fascism. And I say stage to mean that this has always been a fascist country, talking about the United States of America, since it kidnapped the first African and started the indigenous genocide all across this nation and the genocide of Africans here in America. This has always been a fascist country. But in this next phase, in our modern time, we're seeing all of those telltale signs in which people are becoming more and more anti-intellectual. Books are being banned, hard to get. Tariffs on book is making them more and more expensive, therefore inaccessible. So I encourage people who have books to upload them so they could be shared easier through PDF, even if you put them on a thumb drive, a USB stick, and pass them out for free. We need to make sure that the knowledge, especially knowledge of grades, and I shouldn't say grades because it's not a hierarchy. We actually should just preserve and pass down some of the things in which we've experienced, wrote about, especially poetry, especially essays, especially from those who are very in tune with the current state of affairs. So with that, I say, I'm going to go ahead and start this reading. And in the library, you will find these collections of essays from Audre Lorde on a PDF called The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. So the first essay I'm going to read is Poetry is Not a Luxury. And I'm not going to have too much commentary throughout. I'm just going to be reading, but that doesn't mean that there's not something to critique, that there's not things to further examine or to talk about or to discuss. So I encourage people who are listening to take this time to not just listen to what I'm saying, but interrogate it. Get the PDF, read it, get the physical copy if you can, do so, and talk about it with your friends, your family, your chosen family. Also, too, there are going to be certain words that I'm going to mispronounce. I'm human. I hope it doesn't take away from, the impact of her work. As I read, you're going to hear me intentionally replace the word women with mages, which stands for marginalized genders. And that is on purpose because one of the colonial constructs we need to dismantle as those of us who deem ourselves radical is the gender binary and the colonial construct of gender. As we see the violent nature and the many lives we've lost by adhering to this genocidal structure under colonialism, we realize more and more every day the need to not only challenge it, but to dismantle it. So there's a quote here where Audre Lorde says this: I am Black and lesbian, and what you hear in my voice is fury, not suffering. This first essay is called Poetry is Not a Luxury. The quality of light by which we scrutinize our lives has direct bearing upon the product which we live, and upon the changes which we hope to bring about through those lives. It is within this light that we form those ideas by which we pursue our magic and make it realized. This is poetry as illumination, for it is through poetry that we give name to those ideas which are, until the poem, nameless and formless, about to be birthed, but already felt. That distillation of experience from which the true poetry springs birth. Thought as dream births concepts, as feeling births ideas, as knowledge births understanding. As we learn to bear the intimacy of scrutiny and to flourish within it, as we learn to use the products of that scrutiny for power within our living, those fears which rule our lives and form our silences begin to lose their control over us. For each of us as mages, there is a dark place within where hidden and growing our true spirit rises, beautiful and tough as chestnut, stanching against your nightmare of weakness and of impotence. These places of possibility within ourselves are dark because they are ancient and hidden. They have survived and grown strong through that darkness. Within these deep places, each one of us holds an incredible reserve of creativity and power, of unexamined and unrecorded emotion and feeling. The mage's place of power within each of us is neither white nor surface. It is dark, it is ancient, and it is deep. When we view living in the European mode only as a problem to be solved, we rely solely upon our ideas to make us free. For these were what the White Fathers told us were precious. But as we become more in touch with our own ancient, non-European consciousness of living as a situation to be experienced and interacted with, we learn more and more to cherish our feelings and to respect those hidden sources of our power from where true knowledge and therefore lasting action comes. At this point in time, I believe that mages carry within ourselves the possibility for fusion of these two approaches so necessary for survival, and we come close or closest to this combination in our poetry. I speak here of poetry as the revelation or distillation of experience, not the sterile wordplay that too often the White Fathers distorted the word poetry to mean in order to cover a desperate wish for imagination without insight. For mages, then, poetry is not a luxury. It is a vital necessity of our existence. It forms the quality of the light within which we predicate our hopes and dreams toward survival and change, first made into language, then into idea, then into more tangible action. Poetry is the way we help give name to the nameless so it can be thought. The farthest horizons of our hopes and fears are cobbled by our poems, carved from the rock experiences of our daily lives. As they become known to and accepted by us, our feelings and the honest exploration of them become sanctuaries and spawning grounds for the most radical and daring of ideas. They become a safe house for that difference, so necessary to change, and that conceptualization of any meaningful action. Right now, I can name at least 10 ideas I would have found intolerable or incomprehensible and frightening, except as they came after dreams and poems. This is not idle fantasy, but a disciplined attention to the true meaning of "it feels right to me." We can train ourselves to respect our feelings and to transpose them into a language so that they can be shared. And where that language does not yet exist, it is our poetry which helps to fashion it. Poetry is not only dream and vision, it is the skeleton architecture of our lives. It lays the foundations for a future change, a bridge across our fears of what has never been before. Possibility is neither forever nor instant. It is not easy to sustain belief in its efficacy. We can sometimes work long and hard to establish one beachhead of real resistance to the deaths we are expected to live, only to have that beachhead assaulted or threatened by canards we have been socialized to fear, or by the withdrawal of those approvals that we have been warned to seek for safety. Mages see ourselves diminished or softened by the falsely benign accusations of childishness, of non universality, of changeability or sensuality, and who asks the question, am I altering your aura, your ideas, your dreams, or am I merely moving you to temporary and reactive action? And even though the latter is no mean task, it is one that must be seen within the context of a need for true alteration of the very foundation of our lives. The white fathers told us, I think, therefore I am. The black mother within each of us, the poet, whispers in our dreams, I feel, therefore I can be free. Poetry coins the language to express and charter this revolutionary demand, the implementation of that freedom. However, experience has taught us that action in the now is also necessary. Our children cannot dream unless they live. They cannot live unless they are nourished. And who else will feed them the real food without which their dreams will be no different from ours? If you want us to change the world someday, we at least have to live long enough to grow up, shouts the child. Sometimes we drug ourselves with dreams of new ideas. The head will save us. The brain alone will set us free. There are no new ideas still waiting in the wings to save us as mages, as humans. There are only old and forgotten ones, new combinations, extrapolations, and recognitions from within ourselves, along with the renewed courage to try them out. And we must constantly encourage ourselves and each other to attempt the heretical actions that our dreams imply, and so many of our old ideas disparage. In the forefront of our move towards change, there is only poetry to hint at possibility made real. Our poems formulate the implications of ourselves, what we feel within and dare make real, or bring action into accordance with our fears, our hopes, our most cherished terrors. For within living structures defined by profit, by linear power, by institutional dehumanization, our feelings were not meant to survive. Kept around as unavoidable adjuncts or pleasant pastimes, feelings were expected to kneel to thought as mages were expected to kneel to men. But mages have survived as poets, and there are no new pains. We have felt them all already. We have hidden that fact in the same place where we have hidden our power. They surface in our dreams, and it is our dreams that point the way to freedom. They are made realizable through our poems that give us the strength and courage to see, to feel, to speak, and to dare. If what we need to dream, to move our spirits most deeply and directly towards and through promise, is discounted as luxury, then we give up the core, the fountain of our power, our mageness. We give up the future of our worlds. For there are no new ideas. There are only new ways of making them felt, of examining what those ideas feel like being lived on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. after brunch, during wild love, making war, giving birth, mourning our dead, while we suffer the old longings, battle the old warnings and fears of being silent and impotent and alone, while we taste new possibilities and strength.